Hey there, this is Anthony from Maestro Music Centers on East Meadow, Long Island. And you can find more about us on our website at www.maestrocenter.com, Maestrocenter. Obviously we teach here and we sell Roland Rogers Lowry product, and today I'm on a Roland AT900 Platinum, which is the flagship of the Roland Atelier line. It's a fabulous instrument, really gorgeous. And I wanted to spend a little time talking about some of the different kind of voices that are inside of the instrument and how you can best use them. The organ is broken up into different sections. There's a section called organ. I'm on the bottom right now, the lower. A section called symphonic and a section called orchestral. For the pedal, there's a section called organ and a section called orchestral. For the upper, there's a section called organ, a section called symphonic, a section called orchestral, and a solo section. And all of those parts help comprise the sound of the instrument for us. And so one of the things that make some changes here to my screen. One of the things that you find when you're on these instruments is when you're looking at different sounds that are available, there are options like whether you use supernatural or whether you use active expression, or whether the sound you choose to select has a green EX next to it. And so I know that some people don't really know what they mean and how they can affect them, but let me kind of go through and show you some of the sounds. So let's start with sounds labeled EX. All right? So let me go into the orchestral section, and I'm going to select, let's pick soprano sax solo, okay, and it's got a green EX next to it. Those are expressive voices. They use a little bit more memory than the other voices. Roland says they're recommended sounds when you play. And be sure to have your initial touch, your sensitivity for the keyboard high. I have mine set at 10, which is the maximum sensitivity. Now to contrast that, let's go to regular soprano sax. Now it's no slouch of a sound, it's pretty nice too. But there was a little more nuance, and depending on how I hit the other sound that I would hear. Here's a regular trombone. Here's the trombone solo with the green EX. So you see my touch is affecting how that sound comes out. So that's one of the things that really you get to experiment with and use on these instruments, which is really wonderful. And it exists not only on the top models, some of the smaller models have these same type of sounds in them. Now, the next kind of sound that you're going to find, I'm going to touch. I think you can see the screen today. I'm going to touch where it says brass and sax, because that will let me change the category. And I'm in orchestral now. So on the bottom, in this location, I can select all types of voices. Orchestral is the place, that's why there's a pedal version, a lower version, and an upper version, where I can get active expression voices independently and supernatural voices. All right? So I'm going to touch that. Now this gives me the list of active expression voices that are available on the instrument that I can use, and let's pick piano and string. So what happens with that, if you own a large model, you'll notice that the master volume lever, it's a slider, there's an arrow right in the center, about 50%, and that's sort of where we suggest you put the volume if you're going to use these voices, because you're going to be playing with the main volume level, and you want to be able to control, that doesn't get too loud. All right, so here's when my foot's not pressed all the way forward, it's midway, It's a piano. As I press forward, hear the strings? When I pull back, it's just piano. Let's go to one of the strings with brass. When I'm midway, push forward my foot. I get brass in there. When I pull back, I don't have that. String with trem. Is like a red ACTEXP, and it has like volume. It's showing you if you use your volume level, you're going to get something exciting with my sound. So if you want to use those, they're really, really good. You hear the artists use them a lot. They put them in the bass, and they use the one that has the timpani in it. This, bass and timpani. So, you know, now we're not on pitched high, so you're not getting that. And sometimes they'll use the one that says Timpani Roll. So when you put that in the pedal and you get to that point, let's do that. So we'll take, because it's silly to use it up here. Let's go to my pedal, orchestral, touch active expression. Let's go to that same spot. Here's bass and timpani. Okay? And here it is when I do it with the timpani roll. Here's bass and tuba. Okay, let's go back here. And let's get timpani roll. When I'm off, I don't get the roll. Okay, so you'll hear the artists, they'll make their volume louder, and as they get louder and louder and louder in their music, all of a sudden you'll hear timpanis, and you wonder how are they doing that? That's how they're doing it. They're using that sound down there in the bottom. Okay? So that's two kinds of sounds that are in the instrument. Now, the other kind of sound are these new supernatural voices. They are the most expressive sounds. They are the newest sound technology that Roland has. When they invented their sound system on a chip, the SSC chip, this took advantage of all the supernatural voicing. Some people in other instruments, they call them V. You'll see like V piano and stuff like that. But the way that they work, actually on the Platinum, all of the solo sounds are pretty much converted to supernatural. So when you press a solo button, it's going to give you a supernatural version first. If you have the update for a traditional 900 model, it'll have some of those updated as well. Okay? So here I have a supernatural violin. Now on the very bottom of the screen, there's a red box that says auto set. And if you touch that, it tells you I'm going to make the sound have aftertouch, polyphonic, so you can play all notes. And I'm going to make the left and right foot switches, if I say OK, which I do, on my expression pedal, adjust to accommodate these voices. So certain things, like a violin, if I hold my left foot switch in, it does a soft glide, a couple notes between the bow. But if I press right, it plucks. And if I don't touch either of those, I just get my regular violin sound. But even if you don't use the switches and you just play, you're going to hear things happen in that sound. I don't know how to describe it. It like happens by itself. They're really accurate, authentic sounding samples. They use a lot of memory, so they're very, very good. harp is the coolest. Let's go to a trumpet. This trumpet, to me, sounds like Chris Botti. If you don't know who Chris Botti is, B-O-T-T-I, look him up. Really light, you only get air. That's without even a switch, okay? Incredible sound, and there's something to be said about playing with very little. And my teacher always used to say to me, you know, the best songs are the things played with the least amount of stuff. Think of when you hear a professional singer just singing with maybe a guitar player or a piano player, how fabulous that is. Well, that experience is the same. You don't always need to use drums, all right? Now, I know many of you, because my students are that way too, play, you know, hobby players are playing with one finger. Well, you know, use all the easy one finger stuff. You can do the same thing. The nice part when I play this way is I don't perpetually hold stuff down, so if you don't have on the lower hold, when you let go of the lower keyboard voice, it will release. So it will maybe make it feel a little bit more realistic for you. But you don't need to have all the whiz-bang for a piece to sound really lovely. So that's active expression. That can go in the orchestral section of the pedal, the lower, supernatural, sorry, the pedal, the lower, the upper, and the solo portion. But all this setting of how it works is activated through the solo section. Now you could use that split, you can move down, you know, whatever's going to work for you. But if you're a person who's using the kick switches for other functions, well, you know, you have to determine which one is more important. I am not using registration shift for changes, which I turned off before, which would affect that. All right, so that's, you know, a little fast thing on sound. And, you know, don't be afraid to go into your instrument and noodle around in areas of sounds you're not familiar with. You know, like here, let's go over, I'm going to go back to orchestral. I always use orchestral because it's a good spot to see all the colors and the whatever's happening. You know, go into lead and pad. And, you know, you may not even know what that is. They're synthesizer voices, famous synthesizer voices in some cases. And they're not just on this page. If you went back to, let's say, string, and we scroll a page or two, On the bottom of page 4, it says JP8 string number 1. Well, that's a Juno keyboard type of a string. It's a synthesizer string. And then there are other synth strings. So you may want to use some of those sounds. If you go into other categories, you'll see these synth things, even in organ, that pop up. You want to have a real transistory effect. Go into organ, go to the very end of the list, and at the end of the list, you'll have, I love the metallic organ, this sound. Reminds me of bossa nova music. And then there's pop organs, but right before it's synth organ. Really great, synthesizer type effects there. And go around and find a category and start going through. Look at all these sounds, EX and active expression, and play them and see what happens when you use them. Why, would they put that there? What makes it exciting for you to use? And try them, and do pick new categories. The synth. I'm going to do a whole day on synth because it's so flexible, and really it's what contemporary music has. And one of my own students said, "Well, why would anyone use anything but organ sound?" Because people like that. I like it. I want to sound like an orchestra. I want all the sounds to come out, But I like organ too, and I do use my drawbars, So you may want to use them. We call them harmonic bars. I'm sorry, on a Roland product, harmonic bars. To get that. All right. Little Roland sound bits. You'll find this on all the Roland models. Little bits of everything that I talked about today. Thanks. Have a great week.